I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be very transparent. I was scared. Within 2.5 years, that generated over $26 million, 30 employees. The words that we speak about ourselves is very powerful. If you say you're going to succeed, you will succeed. I actually was able to make that company to 1.7 million. You could be prideful or you could be rich. What do you prefer?
Welcome to Inspired by Success, the podcast where I deep dive into the mindset of successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and thought leaders. Get ready to be inspired and gain valuable insights to unlock your true potential. Have you ever met someone whose life story just blows your mind? Well, get ready because our next guest is one of those people. He's living proof that anything is possible with hunger, hustle, and sheer determination. Starting his career in corporate sales, then becoming a police officer and detective, he left the force to focus full-time on his lucrative ATM business. Applying his relentless drive, he developed a millionaire mindset and made an extraordinary transformation by building a $30 million digital marketing empire. In just 3 years, he generated over $33 million from digital marketing alone, and incredibly, he hit $1 million in revenue in just 60 days from one of his businesses. He invested over $500,000 into mastering the game and now helps others achieve the new American dream of true financial freedom. His transition from badge to an 8-figure legacy is just unreal. Prepare to be inspired by the man who rewrote the rules of success. Welcome to the show, Paul Alex.
Linda, how are you today?
I'm happy and pumped. First of all, guys, I wanted to share Paul is my first mentor and I'm super inspired by his work. Paul, I love what you do and all the achievements that you've done and everything you've built, and I aspire to be like you because when I watched you on social media, I see that you've got the heart and that extra fire to succeed. So I want to know, where did that come from? Was it your upbringing or did a certain event push you? And also, how do you sustain it? Because you've always got the energy each week, every time we do the mentorship calls too. So where did this all come from?
From humble beginnings. My mother, raised by a single mother, she raised 3 beautiful kids, and she was an immigrant from Peru, moved to the United States. I call her story Made in Manhattan, the Jennifer Lopez movie, because that's how her and my stepdad met. And when I was like around 2, but I remember distinctly when I was a kid, my mom would work 18-hour days as a hotel maid and then still come home and cook us dinner. That's how devoted she was to her kids. And I never forget that. I never forget that. You never forget about the people that took care of you when you were younger. And she took care of me all my life. Even though we weren't the richest, we weren't even middle class. We were living in poverty, but we were a happy family. We were a very happy family. The fact that my mom was able to have that much drive and you could say passion for taking care of her family. I mean, she just devoted her whole life to her kids, is what allowed me to duplicate that same passion into business, because I knew that I wanted to be rich one day, but I didn't know the path that I wanted to take. When I was coming out of high school, I wasn't studious. And I remember my mom saying, "Hey, so you're going to go to college. I'm going to pay for your college, just like a good parent." I'm like, "Mom, no, I could take care of it. I've been working since I was 15 and a half, part-time." And I remember my mom just, "Come on, this is my dream. Please. Like, my dream is for you to go to college, get a good career, buy a house, get married, and then just retire." And I was like, in the back of my mind, I was just like, "Sure, Mom." But in the back of my mind, since I was 18 years old, I was like, that's my mom's dream. That's like her American dream. I couldn't figure it out yet. So at the age of 21, I had just finished getting my bachelor's degree. I ended up dropping out of community college right before I transferred to a 4-year college. And I went to work in corporate America, got my first sales job. I actually did quite well for my age. At the age of 22, bought my first condo in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was making 6 figures off of commission-based sales job. And this is back in, like 2009, 2010. So it's a very long time ago. I know I'm aging myself. But at the end of the day, what I always learn is by going ahead and being resilient and just working hard and focus, that I was able to accomplish anything. And as I grew as a man, but then also in my 20s, I didn't stay complacent. I always wanted more. And I remember actually going through relationships, and sometimes some of my ex-girlfriends, they would say like, "Oh, you're greedy. All you want to do is work, 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 work." But see, I never saw it like that. I never saw it as me being greedy, because to me, I've always been such a provider. I would always take care of people around me. I would always take care of my family. I would really work so people around me were taken care of. It wasn't really to spend money on myself. So I transitioned from corporate America at the age of 26 to law enforcement. And don't ask me why. I simply did not know why I transferred to law enforcement at the age of 26. I just did it. And I decided to work at one of the most dangerous cities in California, in Oakland. And I remember anytime I would tell anybody, they'd say like, "Oakland, what are you thinking?" And I said, if I'm going to be a cop, I'm going to be a cop's cop. And, I was scared. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be very transparent. I was scared because it was something new. It was dangerous. I wasn't militant. I was a sales guy. But see, here's the thing. One thing I will never forget. The chief of police did a speech one day in the first week of a police academy. And I remember he did this speech, and I'll never forget what he said. But he said, "Guys, we're in a new era of policing." And this is around 2014, mind you. He said, "We're in a new era of policing. No longer can you do bank and robbers and all that stuff you see in the movies, okay? You actually have to be community policing. You have to go ahead and provide customer service. You have to treat the community with respect because all eyes are on you. You know who makes the best police officers? People with life experience, just like a salesman." And I was like, well, I come from sales, so maybe I'll probably be good at this job. Well, a year and a half later, after I finally passed probation and I was a sworn police officer, I actually got shoulder tapped to go into investigations. And that's where my life changed. My life dramatically changed. I was a very young detective, a little bit over 2 years of experience, which in law enforcement, that's nothing. That's nothing because you go through academy in 6 months. So mind you, I only had like basically a little bit over a year of street experience. So for me to go into investigations, I was the black sheep. There was people in there that had 10 to 15 years on, and they would just look down on me. They're like, "Who's this kid think he is? It took me 20 years to get here, and he thinks he can just come in here as a detective." So very toxic environment, but I've always been an optimistic person. I've always been an optimistic person. And I believe the power of your mind, no one can ever take that away from you. The power of what you can achieve, the vision that you have, no one can ever take that away from you. And that's what I always had. I've always had a good heart. I always believed that angels have been looking over me like my entire life. They've always been looking out for me. Like life's already written. And that's why, like, if you ever meet me in person, for anyone who's listening to this or you're watching this right now, I come off very relaxed because I believe that life is a vacation. I love life to the max. I love to help people. I love to think positive. I love to do good things because I believe in good karma and in good business. And at the end of the day, if you do good, good things will happen to you. So within my career, I was about 7 years in law enforcement. Towards the last 2 years, finally realized a couple things. I was approaching 29 years old and I was working up to 100 hours a week. I don't know how I was doing that. It was insane. Okay. So at that point in my life, I was about to turn 29. I bought $1 million home at one of the best neighborhoods in my area. I had my dream car. I had built a side hustle with automated teller machines, which are acronyms as ATMs. And I was technically financially free. So I asked myself, I'm like, why am I still working so much? And it's because I genuinely enjoyed working. I had purpose behind what I did. It fulfilled me. Because why? That's the way I was raised. That's what I saw. I believe that people are a reflection of their environment, the way they were raised. So what did I see growing up? I saw my mother working 18 hours a day and still come home and cook dinner for her family that she loved. Why? Did she have to do that? No, she didn't. She could have gone to like get fast food and just gave it to us when she came home. But instead, she took a couple hours, cooked a hot meal, and saw us eat. And she would sit at the table and ask us how our day was. How was school? Did you finish your homework? Because that's the devotion that she gave us as her kids. And I told myself, I was like, well, when I have kids, I'm going to give my kids this much devotion and even more, because I inspired to be like my mother. I inspired to be like my stepdad who showed me love. So the last 2 years, I came to realize as I was developing as an adult and a man that I was like, is this what life is about? Just working, sitting in traffic 2 hours a day, working all the time, coming home, eating, and then passing out because you're just so tired. And then I decided to actually take a risk. And it was the biggest risk I ever took in my life. And it all started, I know it's going to sound cliche, guys. Don't laugh at me. But it started with reading a book. And the name of the book was called Digital Millionaire by Dan Henry. Okay. Dan Henry's book showed me his vision of what I like to call now the new American dream. The new American dream, just so you guys know, is being able to work anywhere in the world, being able to generate income, cash flow, and be able to do what you want with your time. That's what I truly believe wealth is now in 2024. And that's what most people see nowadays. It's not just the material things. So now when I read that book, I ended up buying $10,000 into a program that taught me digital marketing. And this was roughly around April of 2020, guys. Okay. And not to go on a whole rant here, but just to speed things up, to give you the fast-paced summary of this. January 2021, I launched my first digital company called atmtogether.com. Within 2.5 years, that generated over $26 million, 30 employees. In December of 2022, I was able to go ahead and network with a couple of 9-figure entrepreneurs that were heavily invested into merchant services, which is credit card processing. And I ended up teaming up with them and created a second digital company called Merchant Automation, which right now, as we sit on June 13th of 2024, I launched that on February of 2023. We crossed over 8 million and we should be at 10 million in about a month and a half. So that is 2 8-figure companies, guys, that I've been able to build within the last 3 years, ever since I started this. And now recently, which I've had the pleasure of having Linda as my mentee, the New American Dream, which is part of Consulting Task Force. And this is my passion project, guys. This is going to be the program that changes the world. This is going to be the program that actually gives everybody the information that they need in order to go ahead and actually do what they want in life. And essentially, it's helping anyone that has knowledge or passion behind what they do in life and to show other people either value and get paid for it. And that's it. Very simple. Because like I always say, and Linda knows this, simplicity equals success, guys. But yeah, that's it. It's been a ride. It's been a ride. And it's been wonderful. I mean, it's just the beginning for sure.
It's incredibly inspiring. There's a lot to unpack there. But one thing I wanted to ask you is, what role did mentorship play in reshaping your perspective on wealth and achievement? Because I've watched one of your videos where you're the partner for merchants and he makes so much money as well. So, and you always talk about overcoming limiting beliefs. And then when you hit a certain mark, that was overcoming another belief. So what role did mentorship play in that as well, reshaping your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question. So with every new level, there's a new devil. And the number one reason why majority of people don't ever take the risk that they want to take in life is because you feel uncomfortable. We're all human. We all have fears. We all have dreams. But at the end of the day, we are as comfortable as our environment is. So, what I learned, and I learned it very quickly, as soon as I hired my first mentor back when I started with ATMs, my ATM mentor, he asked me one day, "Hey, Paul, so you always wanted to be a cop?" And I told him no. "So what were you doing before?" I was in corporate America. "And what were you doing before that?" "Well, I went to college." "What were you doing before that?" "I did retail." "Okay. And then high school, right?" "Yeah." "So out the blue, you just transitioned from corporate America to be a cop in one of the most dangerous cities in America." "Yes." "You, sir, were built to be an entrepreneur." And the reason why he said that is because he said that I make swift decisions that I could go ahead and do it without getting attached. And that really resonated with me. The reason why it resonated with me, because I never saw it from that perspective. See, entrepreneurs, some of the greatest entrepreneurs, they know that there's no such thing as a mistake. There's only lessons. And what I found out is that if you're able to take educated risk, the chances of you succeeding is actually extremely high. The one thing that people do not like to actually go ahead and take action on is on events that make them uncomfortable. But see, here's the thing, guys, and something that you guys each have to realize. If you guys wanted to go ahead and actually start that business you've always wanted to start for years, and you don't take action, you really have to think to yourself, what is the worst that's going to happen? And what I always told myself is the worst that will ever happen to me is I would go back to working my 9 to 5 for the next 30 years. So what I've learned from my mentors is by going ahead and taking step by step, day by day, but also making the small wins count. As long as I progress in building my business every single day, I have achieved success. And that's what I tell my mentees. That's what I tell everybody that I talk to. You are successful if you're currently taking a step every single day on trying to achieve that dream. And one thing that I always tell folks is you have to go ahead and actually envision yourself achieving that dream. That's what I used to do every morning. I actually used to meditate when I would get up and already envision myself being here. I would envision myself making my first $1 million in digital marketing. I would envision myself walking the stage and getting my first Comma Club award from Russell Brunson. I would envision myself getting my $10 million award from Russell Brunson. And now, guys, I already envision myself getting my $25 million award from Russell Brunson, which is going to happen this year. So see, you guys have to speak it and also think into existence. The words that we speak about ourselves is very powerful. If you think you are going to succeed, if you say you're going to succeed, you will succeed. Probably right now or eventually, but you will succeed. But if you think you're going to fail, then guess what? Now you're giving you a chance to fail. And that's what you really want to think about. That's what you really want to go ahead and actually say to yourself, wow, am I going to fail? I don't think so. Not today. That's what I've learned from my mentors. My mentors have always taught me, every single one of them, to believe in what you can do. Believe that you will succeed and envision your success before you're already there. It's very important.
Wow, that's incredibly powerful. And I think being self-aware is definitely handy, because if you notice these limiting thoughts in your head, that's when you snap out of it and just be self-aware of it and just get rid of it and just have some positive self-talk as well. So Very incredibly inspiring. Now, I wanted to ask you, out of all the businesses that you've built, the ATMs, the merchant services, and the digital marketing, which one has been the most profitable and which one fulfills you the most?
So out of the three, well, it's more of what it started it out. So what started everything was ATM Together, right? And I believe that ATM Together has been more profitable, the most profitable year to date, just because I've spent the most time actually working that company. And now it's at a sustainable revenue where I employ employees. I even hired a brand new CEO earlier this year, and it's just running without me essentially. Okay. So now I have my focus primarily on the new program, which is consulting, New American Dream, and merchant automation. I still am the CMO for that. Right now, the way we're tracking with merchant automation, we look at actually tripling what the valuation is for ATM Together. So right now, ATM Together is at 26 million. What we were doing annually with ATM Together the past 3 years, we were doing around, I'm going to say 8 million a year. But what I see is this is going to be a probably like double or triple in revenue business with merchant automation for sure, 100%. And the reason why I say that is because when you do good business, I always been told and advice from my mentors, once again, is that when you do good business, you got to ask yourself, who's easier or who is going to buy your item? Somebody that is brand new to knowing you or somebody who has already bought from you? And it's true. Somebody who's already bought from you and have gotten results and believe in the systems and the programs that you have sell, especially online, they are more likely to buy your second program, your third program, your fourth program, because guess what? You have gained their trust. And that is so true, especially in the online world. It's very difficult to go ahead and actually provide real value in the online space because there's so many people out there right now that are trying to go ahead and launch programs and just try to do cash grabs and just promise guarantees, all this craziness. So when people start seeing different companies coming out that have been in the space that provide actual genuine services, now in 2024, people are very skeptical. They're extremely skeptical, and it's the honest truth. It's just what it is, right? And I don't blame them because when I first started, guys, I didn't believe in digital marketing. I was just like, there's no way. There's no way. This has to be a scam. But no, it's not. The power of self-education is so important. I believe it's the future. E-learning is just growing. It's already a billion-dollar industry. It's remarkable.
That's crazy. And you know how you've built so many different ventures. You've got the ATM, the merchant service, even the BTM one as well, now digital marketing. How do you find the most important things to focus on given all your multiple ventures as well?
That's a great question. Delegation. Delegation is key when it comes to actually going ahead and making the decisions, especially when I'm so busy with multiple ventures. And finding people who are good with doing fulfillment, logistics, doing the daily, sales consultants that you can trust to lead by example. These are the people that I've been able to hire successfully. But the reason why I've been able to hire them successfully, because you as a leader, you have to lead by example. And I always tell people this: people will ride with you to the very end of time if you go ahead and you share your vision with them, if you show them the path of what is to become, if you are able to take them to the top with you. Currently, right now, I have over 90 employees, but back in January of 2021, it was only myself and one other employee that started everything. We quickly grew the first year to about 13 employees. The second year, we grew to about a little bit over 34. And then the third year, we finally grew to about 60 employees. And now we're at 90 employees and we're just rapidly growing faster.
Oh, that's phenomenal. And you're constantly, I'm guessing, motivating them as well. It seems like leadership is key too, by motivating them as well. But what are some of the tips to motivate your team, to make them feel that they're on the same level and come with you on that vision and on that journey with you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Once again, people like to follow people they want to be like. So if you want to inspire your employees, you want to inspire and share the vision with people, you have to lead by example. And this is why I also teach every single one of my mentees, especially with the new coaching program that I launched a couple months ago, is that I try to teach consultants, coaches, and creators that they have to go ahead and cover every aspect of their program. Why is this important? Well, the reason why it's important is because you actually want to be the one to have the threshold of where they should be going ahead and performing at. I'll give you a great example. When I was starting as a one-man entrepreneur, when I was a solo entrepreneur, I would go ahead and take 12 consultation calls a day on top of working as a detective. So just imagine how long my day was. I was working 18-hour days, okay, for 6 months. But here's the thing. Is it possible? Yes, it is. What it comes down to is being resilient and also to going ahead and thinking, is this important to me? Do I believe in my vision? Do I believe in myself that I could go ahead and grow this business? And that's what I tell people. So some of the tips that you really have to go is primarily all on mindset. Mindset is key. And I know it sounds cliche because you will hear every guru out there say mindset. And I get it. But it's true, guys. You have to go ahead. Number one, self-educate yourself. Number two, the biggest needle mover that you guys can do, go to business conferences. And it doesn't matter what kind of business conferences. Just go with like-minded individuals. Learn in those communities. Talk to people. Network, guys. Ever since I got in the digital marketing space, I have gone to so many different podcasts, okay, where I have met great people just like Linda. And guess what? Linda might connect me with another multimillionaire and we might do a joint venture next month. That's just the way it works. This is why I love the online space, guys. And this is coming from an old school millennial that wasn't in the online space since 2008. Just think about that, okay, guys? So you got to really think, well, what makes this guy special? Nothing. I just try. I just put myself out there, okay, guys? Imperfect action. So hope that helps.
Beautiful. And you mentioned before the skills, what your mentor told you, being in sales and also the police forces, giving you the skills for entrepreneurship, especially like the tough situations as a detective and having to bust drug dealers as well. So you've handled high pressure situations and you're able to remain calm. And I love the fact that on your podcast, you mentioned ABC, always be calm, which is great. But I want to ask you, what was your toughest obstacle you faced in your entrepreneur journey and how did you overcome it?
Toughest obstacle out of the 90 employees that I've had throughout almost 4 years now, I've had to let go of 2. And it sucks because I have such a big heart. I love to pour into people, but it's like when people take advantage of good people, that's where you have to realize, okay, enough is enough. And as a business owner, guys, you're going to have to make those tough decisions. Mind you, when you're running a business and you have employees, it's not just yourself or your own family that's counting on you. It's actually multiple people's families. So at the end of the day, you really have to give people a chance, but you also have to give them communication and clarity behind what their expectation is at work. And this is something that I had to learn very, very hard myself. Because why? As an entrepreneur, you have 1,000,001 things to do. You know, Linda, right now You're trying to build the program. You're running your business. You have kids. I mean, you have life. It's insane. It's control chaos, guys. Entrepreneurship is one of the hardest things you will ever do in your life. And this is coming from somebody that worked as a detective in Oakland. So I'm telling you, this is one of the hardest things I've ever done. So what I could tell you is when you guys hire, here's a word of advice. Hire slow, promote fast. Once again, hire slow and promote fast. And the reason why I say that, because it goes down to the morale of your company. Culture is everything. Culture can make the difference between your digital marketing company or your online business making $100,000 a month or $500,000 a month. That's the reality of the game. And the reason why is because if the morale is down, guess what? The motivation goes down. And then what does the motivation affect? It affects your numbers. It affects the way your employees talk to your potential clients. And then it all goes down the hill. And also remember, guys, if you guys are currently running a business and you're listening to this podcast, okay, look, there's no such thing as bad employees. There's only bad leaders. So you really have to check yourself as that leader and say, have I gone ahead and actually done everything possible to make this employee successful? That's what you have to think about. Put them first.
Yeah, you mentioned promote fast too, but I've heard the saying, hire slow and fire fast. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it just really depends, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to what type of leader you are. I prefer to label myself as a leader over a boss. A boss to me is just somebody who delegates but doesn't really care about the people that they are delegating to. A leader is somebody that's going to mentor them, somebody that's going to go ahead and actually care for their people. And that's what I want to be like. I want to be a leader that people actually want to work for, they inspire to be like, and also want to be around.
I love it. I just wanted to quickly go back into the law enforcement question because it tailors to the next question. How did it feel leaving law enforcement to pursue entrepreneurship full time, given the chaos and the skills that you've learned as well? But how did you feel, and what advice do you have for someone else looking to make a major career pivot like you did?
To be honest, it was scary. It was scary. And the reason why I say that is because I always go and I talk to my mother, and I always go and I say, hey, Mom, you remember the online business that I started a few months ago? She goes, yes. Well, I just, crossed the threshold of making $130,000 this month. I think I'm going to quit my law enforcement career. And she goes, what? Paul, benefits. What are you thinking about? And that's all she could say. Benefits. And then I go ahead and I'm like, you know what? You're right. And it wasn't until I spoke to a really good friend of mine who's actually one of my CEOs now. And he was working at the department that I was working at. He was a sergeant of police. And I had told him that week, I was like, dude, I just made $130,000 off my first online program. And I don't know what to do. I need to hire employees. I need to start doing all this. Like, what do you think I should do? He goes, quit. He's like, go upstairs to admin, right, or human resources, put in your 2 weeks and go. Grow your business. And that's what I did. I put in my 2 weeks. I even went to the extent of selling my house. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to relocate to Southern California, which is more sunnier, because I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area, which is always rainy and it's cold weather. So I wanted to go somewhere, you could say, with a lot of sunlight. And that's what I did. I went and I got a penthouse near the beach in downtown San Diego. It was the best move I ever did because I was able to get inspired from my terrace every single morning. I would see the sunrise on the beach. I'd drink my coffee. I'd be like, this is the life. Now I'm working remote, the new American dream. And that's what it was about. So at the end of the day, when it came down to it, I went ahead and I actually was able to make that company that initially ATM together that initially generated me 130,000 in 1 month the first year to 1.7 million. And then the rest is history after that.
That's phenomenal. I want to talk about how you built your empires as well. So what are the key principles you follow for rapidly scaling businesses? Because that's a huge jump from 130 a month to in the millions. So what are the key principles and advice you follow for scaling businesses? Because you build a template and you seem to apply that same template across other businesses. And how do you spot opportunities that are often overlooked as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question, Linda. A couple of key tips, guys, when you're building a business in the initial steps is number one, you want to go ahead and delegate your entire sales process. Okay. So who is going to be doing all the sales calls? Who's going to go ahead and be doing all the client acquisition first? You are. I recommend not to go ahead and hire out initially. Learn the process, learn how to sell, and then you are going to be able to train the consultant or the closer. Okay. Once you go ahead and do that, then you can focus on the bread and butter. And what's the bread and butter? Marketing, which then equals client acquisition, which then you already have a closer or a sales process that you can go ahead and convert them to paying clients. So what did I do my first year that made me 1.7 million? I doubled down on the foundation, client acquisition, marketing, and just closing deals. That's it. Okay. Now, once you have figured that out, which I use the concept that right now Linda is learning, was using digital communities. Okay. With digital communities, I was able to take them to an opt-in page, which is typically, we do that with a ClickFunnels page. And then they would opt in their information to go and get a lead magnet, which is valuable information based on your niche, inside of my digital community, which is a Facebook group. And then from there, the client would then get nurtured by the resources, by my SDRs, which are sales development reps, which we like to also call them appointment setters nowadays. And then also my weekly live trainings. Once these three components go ahead and nurture the client within either a few days or a few weeks, they will be ready to jump on an informational call to obtain more information about the program or your services. Once they jump on this call and you've nurtured them properly through this client acquisition, guys, you usually could, if you get the proper ads, okay, after you've organically done this, you should be able to close anywhere between 5 to 15 clients a week using this system. I've been able to use this exact system for the last 2 companies that I've built to close to 8 figures. At the end of the day, this is the easiest and simplest way to scale a company to $1 million company your first year.
I love it. That's pretty incredible. And I actually watch what you do and I follow you immensely as well. And I love the fact that you're not hardcore selling too. You're giving value and you're telling story, because I think that you've taught me this as well, is that it's the power in storytelling. And I think you've become you're incredible at it, and you show your personality, your personal life. You're not trying to sell hard. It's just your story. And that's what made me want to reach out to you in the first place as well. So I wanted to ask you, how did you build your online presence so quickly? Because I remember you saying you weren't on Facebook, you were using MySpace as well. So from barely using social media to having such a huge following, what's your secret?
Pretty simple. One of my mentors, I'm going to give you guys some advice from my mentors. He asked me, Paul, do you want to be famous or do you want to be rich? And guys, I didn't aim to be famous. I don't think I'm famous, but I did tell him I wanted to be rich. So he said, okay, well, what you want to do is you want to provide a program that gives so much value that you would be able to go ahead and actually be known as that it person in your niche. And the first program that I built was around ATMs. So I knew I was going to be labeled the ATM guy, which is okay. That's fine. I'm okay with that, because I wanted to prove to myself that I could actually master the skill of digital marketing. And that's what I did. Guys, within the first year, I was known as the ATM guy, right? And I then transitioned from using Facebook. And with Facebook, I was already generating $250,000 a month on this program, guys. So I then jumped into Instagram. I had so much testimonials from clients that had success with my program that my actual Instagram started blowing up because of the value that I had presented the first year. So if you want to know the secret to actually blowing up on social media, guys, don't worry about doing reels. Don't worry about like posting like the best edited content. The only thing you have to do is go ahead and build a badass program that provides so much value that you guys will go ahead and change people's lives. And then once you change people's lives and transform their mindset, then guess what? You're going to get referrals. You're going to get a ton of testimonials. And guys, in digital marketing, testimonials is numero uno. Okay. Each testimonial will get you another 10 clients. And that's what I promote. I don't promote my success. I promote the success of my clients because that's what it's about. It's about the ripple effect. It's about changing people's lives, guys. This is why I love this industry.
Powerful. And in a world of infinite marketing strategies, like there's so many different platforms out there. You mentioned you started off with Facebook and now you've blown up on Instagram, but how do you choose which channels to focus on? Or do you use one piece of content and apply that across, this is what I do anyway, but apply that across multiple different channels so it's just spread out?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I do, guys. Hey, like I always say, simplicity equals success. So what we'll do is I used to write all my copy. Okay. So I used to write all my posts, all my stories, but then I ended up hiring a copywriter my second year. And he really learned a lot of my background story and the way that I think and articulate. And based off, if you guys start doing podcasts just like Linda, this is perfect because then your copywriter, when you get to that level, they're going to be able to learn a lot about the way you speak, what type of questions you ask, the way you think. So then they'll be able to write like you. So essentially what I do on a weekly basis now is I'll have a meeting with my copywriter. I'll update him on my life events, and then he will go ahead and write motivational posts, value posts on providing tips and tricks regarding whatever niche I'm talking about, and then also client success posts as well. What we do is we do a weekly content schedule that we primarily use for my Facebook profile and then my actual Facebook group. This helps my audience actually get nurtured. And this is throughout my 3 companies, guys. This is not just one company. It's not a one-trick pony, okay? So you're able to go ahead and do that, but then guess what? Then you can go ahead and delegate a marketing team or a virtual assistant to use the same content on your Instagram, on your TikTok, on your LinkedIn, and you can just repurpose all of the content. So you're just essentially doing one piece of the work for multiple platforms. And guess what? If you post once a day and you're consistent, people are going to keep watching and your audience is going to keep growing. It's very simple.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that. And you're always posting regularly, even it just, like you said, not having flashy editing, just simple things like training videos with text. It still works because what you're writing is engaging. What are your thoughts on AI though as a tool? Do you leverage AI and use that for any of the content writing? Because AI is just growing massively now, and I use it for like a lot of the things in my podcast, for example. But do you leverage it, or do you believe in still old-fashioned, good old copywriter?
No, I love AI, but for different reasons. So if you guys didn't know, I have a self-help / motivational podcast, typically about 5-minute, just podcast on a daily basis, Monday through Friday. And right now, I started this roughly, guys, I think 2.5 months ago. We're approaching 3 months, but I'm already at like episode 78. So how am I able to get to so many episodes within a short amount of time? Because if you guys didn't know, 90% of podcasters won't get past episode 10, which is amazing when you think about it, right? Because now podcasting has gotten so popular, but it's a great tool to put all your content. People love listening to audio, especially when they're in the car. I think it's great. So I use ChatGPT. And the way I do it is I actually write a bio about myself. So I have ChatGPT actually learn about my background, like my biography, and then go ahead and actually write the scripts based on motivational or self-help topics that I would list out. So typically I would write my bio and then I would go ahead and type in, write a 5-minute script regarding motivation and not quitting as a beginner entrepreneur. Well, they'll write out the entire list. You can even put in the title of your podcast, guys. And then what I like to do, okay, because I like it to come off very authentic, I change the wording based on my style. Because you might have some words on there like, hey, y'all, but you don't talk like that, right? You might say like, hey, guys. That's typically the way I talk. So I would change that words to make it sound more believable, but it works like a charm, especially when you sit down and you do it once a week like I do, and you just lay it out, knock 2 weeks out. Now you're doing it twice a month, and it's great for planning. This is how I'm able to get things done, guys. At the end of the day, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just need to put the content out there. Hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely. I highly agree to that. ChatGPT has been a game changer, especially for my podcast and coming up with different things. Like there's so many tools that can help. AI can help with descriptions, like titles, questions as well. But then I always have to rewrite it in my way and simplify it because sometimes it just talks too much.
Okay, oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
You also mentioned before your mom's been one of your biggest inspirations. Who's been your biggest inspirations besides your mom, essentially, that's helped you in life?
In every aspect of my life, I've always had a different mentor. And to be honest with you, when I was in corporate America, I would hang around the 5 top salesmen. And that's how I became a top producer as well. When I was a police officer, it was the exact same thing. I would hang around the best award-winning detectives, and I eventually became an award-winning detective. At the end of the day, guys, you guys all have access to mentors. It's typically mentors are people that already have life experience based on what you want to be at in life. And I found that very young in my life, since the age of 16, where I wanted to be like other people. And it's not to say that you don't have your own identity. It's just that you want to do better in life and you want somebody to teach you. Now, depending on your environment, if you have family that have the skills, already have the mindset, and you want to be just like them, then that's great. But if you don't, like in my situation, then you got to go ahead and just observe the environment that you're in. You always want to go ahead and level up. So now at this stage of the game, guys, I'm putting myself in rooms where there's business owners and entrepreneurs that are way smarter than me. One key element and one tip that I could tell you guys is you never want to be the smartest person in the room, no matter what room you're at. You actually want to be the person that's asking the questions. And remember, there's something that I always like to say to my employees and also my mentees. You can be prideful or you can be rich. What do you prefer? Ask for help. Everybody learns. Everybody starts from day one, guys, including myself.
Yeah, I've heard that you mentioned that before on a podcast. You'd like to be in a room with your masterminds. You'd like to be the most poorest as well, because then you're leveling up with people that are more wealthier than you. Now, I wanted to ask about relationship with money and wealth. So how can an aspiring entrepreneur develop a healthy relationship with money and wealth as well? I think mindset is one, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is a great question. So in the very beginning, guys, I'm going to be very transparent. I was younger and I thought money will solve all my problems, but money only magnifies who you are already. So it just really depends on you, what type of person you are. And if you got a good head on your shoulders, cool. But if you don't, I highly recommend, that you figure out what's your purpose, what pushes you in life, because that's going to actually determine how successful you are. See, some of the most successful people have a very strong why. If it wasn't for my family, if it wasn't for my mother, who I always talk about in almost every single podcast that I've jumped into, sort of a cadence that I do, but it's true. I mean, she is my why. My family's my why. When I have kids, they're going to be a stronger why, right? Because it's the next level for me. It's my own little family. So at the end of the day, you really have to find what's going to drive you to work hard. What's going to drive you to stay at the office at 10 o'clock at night, right? At the end of the day, hey, it got to work or it got to work. So with me, it's more about purpose. It's not about the money. Anybody can make money. Anybody can make money. I could show you. But at the end of the day, something that I always want everybody that I speak with, that I want everybody to learn from me, is to find your why, to find your purpose, because that's what's going to make you happy, guys. That's what's going to make you happy. I've had friends that have had way more money than me, but they've also been depressed. And it's because they've lost their purpose. They lost their why. Money does not solve your problems. It just magnifies it. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. And I do remember reaching out, DMing you and asking, well, what is your why? I'm curious to know what drives you, because it just helps get a bit of image of that person and why they're doing what they're doing. And yeah, if it's beyond yourself, then you can tell that it's a good person because, you're helping others. And I like it and see that, you get fulfilled helping people too, which a lot of people that are successful and wealthy as well, I think when they don't focus on others and serving others, sometimes they have so much money, but they're just depressed because it's all about them. But when you take that focus and put it on others, it gives you a purpose and it fulfills you more as well. But I'm curious to know also, you mentioned it's now 10 o'clock at your time too, so I appreciate it. How do you prioritize self-care and education and work-life integration as an entrepreneur? Because you do so much, but how do you prioritize that self-care time? And you mentioned you meditated before. Do you still do that? And what does a typical ritual, like a day, look like for you?
I'm going to be very transparent. I do try to stick to a routine, but at this stage of the game, guys, 90 employees, we're trying to push it to 100 by August. Right now it is June 13th. So basically in the next 2 months, that's a lot of work, for us. But here's the thing. We have a purpose to what we're doing. There's a strategy to the madness. And at the end of the day, sometimes we have to sacrifice short sacrifices for the long term. And for me, one of my long-term goals is actually to just be a passive investor by the age I'm 40. Okay. I'm 36 right now, guys. So I have 4 years. So I'm going to give it my all. But does that mean I'm going to retire at 40? No. It just means I want to work smarter, not harder. And I learned this from a very young age, guys. From 26 all the way to 31, I was working literally 100 hours a week for a very long time under stressful situations. So what I look at, okay, I'll give you a great example. On Sundays, I'm 100% committed to go to church, 100%. And also, me and my fiance, we go and we'll have breakfast outside home. Okay, so we'll go eat breakfast right after church. And then we always have a date night every week. Now, that day will change. It could be on Mondays, it could be Tuesdays. To be honest, when you're an entrepreneur, guys, forget about the weekends. And what I mean by that, I don't mean that in a negative way, but every day's a weekend. Okay. Mondays can be your Saturdays. Literally, it could. You just choose what you want to do. So at the end of the day, sometimes I don't even know the days. That's why I have a planner, guys. Okay. I forgot tomorrow's Friday. Okay. So with that being said, for me, at minimum, I can't say that I have a routine that I strictly go based upon. But one thing I can tell you, Linda, is that I do wake up naturally at 5 a.m. and I usually go to sleep. I'm in bed usually by 9, but I usually close my eyes by 11. So that's usually the way my body works. It's just so used to it. So I would say that's my routine. Other than that, self-care, one thing I would recommend, guys, the sauna. Sauna is lovely, especially to take out all the toxins out of your body. And if you don't have a sauna in your gym, that's okay. I actually bought, when I moved to Miami 6 months ago, it's called the Sauna Box, and it fits. It could just fit in a very small room, guys. $300. It's well worth it. And you can just use filtered water. It's great after the gym, right before you go to sleep, and you'll sleep like a baby. And then also just getting your daily exercise. That's it. You need to decompress, and health is wealth. What's the point of making all this money if you're falling apart as you get older, guys? And we're all going to get older. That's just the name of the game, right? So make sure to prioritize your health. Make sure to eat good. Make sure to take care of your mental health, because you don't want to be a broken down car by the time that you're a multimillionaire.
Yeah, I've seen like one of the multi-millionaires who just worked so hard. And then after he sold his company, I think Brian Johnson, I can't remember his name, but now he's just investing millions to buy back his health and biohack that every year he will spend millions just so he can get his health back, which is a bit sad because, working so hard to just spend so money to just live longer. But if you could go back in time, what would you do differently?
Oh, oh man, that's such a great question. I would have started self educating myself a lot sooner. But that also comes down to environment, guys. Use right now the tools that you have to your advantage. Back in 2008, when the last time I was on social media, MySpace, when everybody had music on their profiles, there was no such thing as online courses, okay? There was no such thing as mentors online. You weren't able to direct message, DM your favorite business owner. Nowadays, you guys have the capability of messaging and actually adding value to business mentors. I get hundreds of DMs a day, guys. And sometimes I'll reach back when it's a great idea or I have an opportunity for that one person. But here's the thing, guys. Closed mouths don't get fed. So if you guys don't speak up, if you guys don't take action, how are you supposed to go ahead and actually make things happen? So what I would tell my younger self, put in the work, self-educate yourself, and invest all the money you can when you're younger and throughout your 20s. Okay, guys? So you're able to come ahead in life once you hit your 30s. And then you can choose what you want. You can choose either to go ahead and actually take it easy, or you could continue to build your empire. But at the end of the day, you're ahead of the game. Okay. And what you don't know is what you don't know, guys. So if I would have learned about digital marketing, let's say 5 years ago, before I actually started, oh my God, that was the gold rush. Essentially, like beginnings, the Tai Lopez. Hey, this is my Ferrari, but let's check out my books, right? So
No, that's good, but it's still never too late, I think, with the digital marketing space too, as long as you have a great key message and you're there to help people and not think of a quick buck, add value, I guess. What does a success mean to you personally? How would you define success, Paul?
success. Success to me is actually going back and finding your fulfillment. That is true success because I was my happiest when I was actually a kid with my parents, with family, just having not have to worry about life, just genuinely just living in the moment. And I feel with technology nowadays, people don't live in the moment anymore. And that's what I miss. I miss living in the moment. And I try when I can because majority of my business is digital. I try not to look on my phone. I try not to go ahead and actually use it for personal reasons except business. But at the end of the day, my definition of success is truly being happy what you do. And to me, the reason why I can say I'm successful is because I'm actually genuinely happy on helping people every single day accomplish goals that they wouldn't be able to do without my help. That's what makes me successful. It's not the money, it's not the lifestyle, none of that. It's impact. It's the ripple effect.
That's beautiful. It's very powerful indeed. Guys, if you found this exceptionally valuable, please do me a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. And if you're listening on the podcast, please hit the follow button. It does definitely help the channel grow. Finally, where can people find you, Paul, if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So you guys can find me on Instagram at Paul Alex, and then I have a second profile for digital marketing, which is the Paul Alex. And then if you want a free copy of my book, From Blue to Digital Gold, The New American Dream, guys, I have a few copies left. All you have to do is just take care of shipping at officialpaulalex.com.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, Paul. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Linda.